Welcome back to the Knitty Gritty Intro to Knitting video series. Today we're going to address a very common problem with most beginner knitters, which is casting your stitches onto your needle too tight to begin with. If you do that, you're going to have a very difficult time knitting those stitches off of your needle. So today I'm going to show you a very simple trick to avoid casting stitches onto your needle so tight that the rest of your project remains tight, or you can't even begin to knit those stitches off your needle. Let's get to it. A common mistake that we see with beginner knitters is that when they cast on to begin a project, they make the stitches too tight on their needle. They get that slip knot on there and they really crank down and get it tight, and then as they begin to cast the stitches on, they pull it tight because they want to make sure it doesn't slip off of their needle. So you can see I'm pulling real tight on those stitches. The problem with that is once I get the stitches on there, if I pull it tight, it's difficult to slide it on the needle, which means it's even more difficult to actually get another needle through those stitches. So if I scoot these to the end, I really got to work and be careful I'm not splitting my yarn. I've got to work that end in there, kind of stretch it out a little bit in order to begin actually knitting. And then I've got to be careful when I'm knitting those first stitches. See, I just split that there. So that's some trouble that we see with beginner knitters. Here is a tip to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So I'm going to start this over. I'm going to make my slip knot. And instead of just my one working needle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slightly smaller diameter needle and then I'm going to hold those two needles together. So now I'm going to slip the knot or the loop directly over both needles, and now I can pull this as tight as I want. So I can pull that nice and tight, crank that down, and now as I begin to cast on stitches, no matter how tight I pull them, you'll see how this simple trick makes it nice and easy to be able to move those stitches around. So let's go ahead and get 10 on there so it's a good demonstration. Let's see, 2 more, that's about 10, right? So now simply what I'm going to do is, you can see this is my smaller diameter needle. I'm going to pull that out. Now those stitches have no problem sliding around. You can see I can spread them out nice and easy, and then when it actually comes to knitting my work, I have no problem slipping that needle in there real easy and beginning to knit. So that's just a little extra tip to be able to keep the first row of stitches nice and loose on your needle and not making it so it's too difficult to get your needle through the yarn and have that problem of splitting your yarn or dropping a stitch.